What is up, everybody? Larry back with you, and today we're going to be talking about something that I've had in my possession for probably a few months now, but I really wanted to use it for a while and get a really good feel for it before I brought you guys this video. Today we're going to talk about the LG G8X ThinQ. I'm not going to keep saying that, so I don't know what I'm going to call it, whether it's ThinQ or G8 or G8X, but just know that I'm talking about the LG G8X ThinQ. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to talk about the 5 coolest things on the LG G8X ThinQ. So, and then I'll talk about a couple little negatives that I have towards the end, but first up, let's talk about the specs. Now, I usually don't dive into specs that much, but this one, I just wanted to get this out of the way. It is pretty impressive, and LG, I feel like, gets left out of a lot of conversations when it comes to great phones. And I think they've made and continue to make great phones, but they just get lost when it comes to things like iPhones, Samsung, and Google. So first, let's talk about the price on this. You can find it for cheaper than this now, but its baseline is $699, and that comes with the dual screen case, which we'll talk about the dual screen case a little bit more in a few minutes. It's on US carriers. It's on AT&T, Sprint, and then there's an unlocked version that you can find on like Amazon and Best Buy. I'll leave a link for the Amazon stuff down in the description below just so you guys have it. Affiliate link. Let's talk about the specs. Now I'm going to read off my iPad, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. It's got a 6.4-inch 1080 by 2340 OLED screen ×2 when you use that case. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few. You have 403 PPI, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 855, the Adreno 640. You have 128 gigs on board of storage and up to 2 terabytes of expandable storage with a micro SD. Now, micro SD seems to be going away on a lot, and LG brings not only that, but a headphone jack, which we'll talk a little bit about that again. But those are staples that LG seems to be hanging on to, which I appreciate. There's lots, expandable storage, I love it. So on top of that, there's 6 gigs of RAM. It's Android, you need it, I'm sorry. A huge 4,000 milliamp hour battery, which you're gonna need when you throw that second screen on there. Wireless charging, even with the case with the second screen, still works, so that's awesome. You have USB Type-C, and then you also have 21 watt fast charging if you use the USB Type-C port, so not wireless charging. And there is a different sort of a wireless charging with a wire type thing if you're using the case, but again, we'll talk about that in a few. And then, like I mentioned before, there is an audio jack with a DAC, which we'll discuss that a little bit in a minute. Number 2, we're going to talk about the cameras. So your front-facing camera, the selfie camera, is 32 megapixels with an f1.9 and a 78-degree field of view. So that gives you a nice wide angle, low f-stop, so you're going to get a lot of light in there, and 32 megapixels. So that way when you have bad skin, or that zit popped up, or like you didn't shave, it's going to show it really, really well. So, hey, there's that, and you deal with it. You can record 2K video up to 30 frames per second on that front-facing camera, and HDR. The rear cameras, you have one 12 megapixel standard with 78-degree field of view. Then the second one is a 13 megapixel wide angle with 136 degrees of field of view. LG is like OG when it comes to wide angle and 2 cameras, all that stuff. LG is like a pioneer in that field. Every phone that has dual cameras should have wide angle and a standard focal length. Sorry, that's just what it is. You can keep your zoom or telephoto or whatever you want to call it. I don't need that one. Just give me wide angle and a standard and I'm good to go. So in the camera app, you have some cool options. You have studio, portrait, obviously photo, video. You have a manual camera. So right in the app, this is something as an iPhone user that I really appreciate, that I can just flip to manual and then have all my manual controls there. I don't need a separate third-party app to actually take advantage of the hardware that is actually there. Now, I understand why a lot of companies do this. 99% of the time, I myself use auto for everything, but in those times where I want to get creative and I really want to get into something a little bit more than just auto, I don't want to go somewhere else for it. I want to do it right inside of the app. LG, good job with that one. Like I said, a lot of great stuff built in. You have flash along the back too. I usually never use my flash. But it's there if that's what you're into. So cameras on the LG, I think they're really, really great. There used to be before, and on some cameras you still see this, and LG was guilty of this in the past, but your wide angle and your standard focal length, there would be a color shift between them. So you could really tell a difference between them. And LG on this, the G8X, does a great job of bringing that closer together. You can still see a little bit of a difference, but I'm telling you, like, they've really sort of balanced it out. And I really, really appreciate that, because I always hated like taking a wide angle and then it would just look completely different than the other. And I'm sure that's a lot of optics and then what's going on inside when it's computing the pictures and processing and all that kind of stuff. But right now they've really sort of balanced that out, and that's a great job by LG. So like I mentioned before, sound. Number 4, we're gonna talk about the sound. Like I mentioned, they have the headphone jack, which everybody appreciates. I really don't care. I'm in a Bluetooth world. I have been for years. But there's audiophiles out there, and there's people that really, really love a headphone jack. So LG's got you covered. Not only do they have just the headphone jack, they actually have a DAC built in as well. Digital to analog converter. So that's awesome for you audiophiles out there. So it's a 32-bit hi-fi DAC. So if you're one of those dudes that has like a Tidal account and you pay that extra so you get that high fidelity and all that stuff, you're gonna appreciate this. Me, I'm cool with like, you know, CD quality or MP3 quality or whatever. Like, my hearing's not that good, I guess, and you know, I'm Bluetooth all day. They also list the G8X as having dual speakers. It seems like it does, but they're not front firing, so I'm a little disappointed in that. They do sound good for what they are, and I appreciate that they actually have them implemented, but you know, they're not gonna blow you away. Battery life on this overall is great. Now, if you talk about just the phone itself, just this without the dual screen case, the battery life is fantastic. You get 4,000 milliamp hours. That's one of the biggest batteries on a flagship phone that you can think of, and I appreciate that. But like I said, when you put that case on, things go a little south. So with that second screen, from what I can tell and what I've read and what I've witnessed, it takes about 20% power to run that second screen. So that's gonna cut into your battery life significantly. If that's worth it to you, great. Me personally, I have wireless chargers on my desks at work. I have one, you know, in my car. I have USB Type-C, or you know, whatever. So like, it isn't that big of a deal to me. But if you're out and about, then yeah, I could see it maybe becoming an issue. So maybe you want to take it out of that dual screen and just rock it singular. But really, the dual screen is sort of the star of the show. So just keep in mind, you're giving up 20% when you plug that bad boy in. But I haven't had much issue with the dual screen on. I've never had it, except for this video, had it by itself like this. I've always had the dual screen on, and I can get through a full day with no issues in my testing. Like I said, I can charge it anywhere, but I have done a few days where I just took it off the charger in the morning. I have a SIM card in it, so I'm actually getting data through that, through Wi-Fi, and that's mostly what I'm talking about is social media and video consumption. I don't use this very much. I use it for my Gmail and stuff, but my 9 to 5 work, I use an iPhone, so that's sort of something separate. Not really too many phone calls on this either. But really, who takes too many phone calls on their cell phone anymore anyways? If you have the dual screen plugged in, you no longer have access to the USB Type-C port. They have like a MagSafe type adapter that comes in the box with it, and you attach that to your USB Type-C cable, and then it just attaches to the bottom of the case, and then that's where your charging is going to come into play. So that's why I've said it's sort of wireless with a wire. But, you know, either way, it's a pretty cool option to have. And like I mentioned before, the wireless charging still works with the case on it. So that's also a bonus as well. So last but not least, let's talk about number 5. And that's the dual case, this dual screen, and what that's gonna bring you. So you can put the main screen to sleep. There's a little like side little task thing that you can select all this stuff. Put the main screen to sleep. Show dual screen on the main, show main screen on the dual, or swap screen, so all that stuff's cool. I think the coolest thing that the dual screen brings you is LG's gamepad. And what that does is it gives you a game controller that's configurable, and then you can actually launch games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Minecraft, and use the control on the one screen while you're looking at the game on the other. Now, the biggest problem I've always found with mobile games is that my thumbs are taking up a lot of real estate, moving around and firing and doing all that stuff. And there's different little weird options that you can get, like little things to add on or whatever to your regular phone. But this gives you a full gamepad on one screen, and then you have the whole other screen for just the game. So to me, that's the biggest thing that this dual screen gives you, in my opinion. But you can also have YouTube running on one window. You can have Google Chrome on the other, on the same device at the same time. So you can do some multitasking in here. Productivity, you can do better things. You can be looking at an email while you're researching. You could have a Google Doc open on one and then researching on Chrome on the other. I mean, literally, it's limited only by your imagination or what you want to do. Now, not all apps take advantage of this. You can actually, if you go into Chrome, you can actually do a wide view, and that's going to put the whole Chrome page through both of them. I mean, you have a whole black bar right there, so I don't know if that's really a great advantage for this, but I mean, it's there if you want it. You can also sort of have this propped up, and you could be watching something a little bit more like this. But the dual screen, like I said, the dual screen is the star of the show with the LG G8X ThinQ. It just is. It comes with it. That price that I mentioned before and the link down below, they all come with this case. LG knows that this is the way right now to do dual screens or foldable screens right now. Honorable mention, there is a fingerprint scanner underneath the screen, which is really cool, but I don't find it very reliable. You can use it, it's cool. There's a bunch of other stuff in here. So when you take a photo, you can actually have the bottom actually show the picture that you took. So instead of like seeing it quickly on that screen, it'll actually show it on the second screen. So I think that's really cool. I really, really like this phone. I really, really like this phone. I wish this case was a little bit different. This is where my negative comes in. We talked about the battery life with using the second screen in the case, but this thing is a fingerprint magnet. Like, I just cleaned this off before this video, and you can see just from me messing around with it, this is what you're looking at. This is the display you get up here along the top, which is not even a quarter of the display, but yet the whole, or the quarter of the case, but yet the whole front is glass or plastic or whatever, but it's shiny as all get out. So I don't know what the purpose of making the whole thing like that is, just maybe so it feels like it's the front of your screen or the front of your phone screen, but I wish they would have done something different there. Also, along the back, you have this huge cutout for no apparent reason that I can think of. I've heard, like Marquez said, it's maybe just to show the branding, but it has branding at the bottom. You could have easily put that branding here and closed all that up. I don't like having that much of the phone exposed. So I'm not sure if there's a reason for that. I haven't heard about a reason for that. Another sort of negative that I've found is that sometimes when you put the dual screen, it'll actually have you, like, save the game launcher. The first time I used it, it had it put it on, it launched it on the case screen. And the other screen is obviously a lot heavier, so you have that. So you can flip that around, that's not a problem. But the issue that I have is even having the smaller case screen up, it's not very, like, it's a little loosey-goosey. A little too loosey-goosey for my taste. Like, if you have it like this and you just do a little bit of a... Overall, though, I think LG knocked it out of the park with this one. The phone itself is sort of... It's great, but there's nothing that brings it head and shoulders above anything else or makes it stand out except for the dual screen case. So like I said, there's some downsides with that, but there is so many positives and so many possibilities for the future of something like this. So big shout out to LG for making this happen. Big shout out to LG for sending this out for review. Thank you guys for that. Without you, this video would not be possible. If you guys have any questions about this, leave it down in the comment section below. I'd love to answer them for you or see if I can get some answers for you. So I'll leave a link for this and some other stuff that we talked about down in the description below, so you guys can check that out as well. While you're down there, you can hit the subscribe button if you've yet to subscribe. You can hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and you can hit that little bell if you want notifications for when we upload videos. That's going to be it for this one. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will talk to you in the next one.